The sun sets over Jericho, casting golden hues over its towering walls. The city stands proud and fortified, its thick stone barriers a testament to its strength. But behind these walls, fear spreads like wildfire. In the bustling marketplace, merchants whisper anxiously, their voices tinged with unease. Soldiers sharpen their weapons, but their eyes betray their worry. The rumors have reached even the lowest corners of the city. An army is approaching. Not just any army, but the Israelites. The very people whose God dried up the Red Sea, whose warriors crushed the mighty Amorites. Now, they camp beyond the river, their torches flickering in the distance. Jericho is afraid. Among the crowd, a woman moves unnoticed, her eyes scanning the worried faces around her. Rahab, an innkeeper by trade, has heard every rumor, every story. She has seen powerful men crumble under fear, and she knows this moment is different. The city's walls may be strong, but something greater is coming. Inside her inn, Rahab listens as her guests speak in hushed tones. Traders and travelers gather over cups of wine, exchanging news from the lands beyond. She pours their drinks, but her mind is elsewhere. Unlike the others, she does not dismiss the stories of the Israelites' God. She has never seen him, never called upon his name, but she knows he is not like the gods of Jericho. The Canaanite idols demand blood, yet they do nothing. But the God of Israel? He moves. He fights for his people. And if the stories are true, then Jericho is doomed. She glances toward the window. Beyond the city walls, the land stretches into the horizon. The Israelites are out there, waiting. And deep in her heart, a question stirs. What if their God is real? A sharp knock at the door pulls Rahab from her thoughts. She hesitates. The night is young, yet something about the sound unsettles her. Slowly, she opens the door. Two men stand before her, their faces shadowed by the flickering torchlight. They are not like the usual travelers, there's something different about them. A cautious urgency in their eyes. They scan the room behind her, then step inside. She knows immediately who they are. They are Israelites. For a moment, Rahab's heart pounds in her chest. If the king's men discover them here, it would mean certain death, not just for them, but for her as well. And yet, as she looks into their faces, she makes a choice. She leads them up a narrow staircase, onto the rooftop of her inn. Bundles of drying flax are stacked high, offering the perfect hiding place. She motions for them to stay silent and disappears just as another knock, this time louder, more forceful, echoes through her home. Torches blaze outside as the king's soldiers pound at her door. "Open up, Rahab." By order of the king, she takes a deep breath, adjusting her veil before unlatching the door. The men push past her, their eyes scanning the room. "Where are the men who entered your house tonight?" one of them demands. "We know they came this way." Rahab does not flinch. She meets their gaze, steady and unwavering. "They were here," she says calmly. "But they left before the city gates closed. If you hurry, you might still catch them." The soldiers exchange glances. Without wasting another moment, they turn and rush toward the city gates, their torches flickering in the darkness. Rahab closes the door behind them, exhaling sharply. The danger is far from over, but for now, the spies are safe. On the rooftop, the spies emerge from their hiding place, their expressions filled with gratitude and curiosity. They had taken a great risk entering the city, but they had not expected an ally among the enemy. Rahab's voice is steady, but there is a new intensity in her eyes. "I know that the Lord has given you this land," she tells them. "We have heard of your God, how he dried up the Red Sea, how he destroyed the Amorites. Everyone in this city is terrified. But I do not wish to fight against your God. I believe he is the true God." She pauses, then speaks again, softer this time. "When Jericho falls, promise me that my family will be spared." The spies exchange glances. Then, one of them reaches into his cloak and pulls out a scarlet cord. "Hang this from your window," he tells her. "When we return, everyone inside your house will be saved." Rahab takes the scarlet cord in her hands, its deep red hue vivid against the night sky. A symbol of a promise. A symbol of salvation. As dawn breaks over Jericho, Rahab watches the spies disappear into the wilderness. Her hands tremble as she ties the scarlet cord to her window, letting it dangle where all may see. She does not know what the future holds. She does not know when the Israelites will return. But she knows one thing for certain. She has chosen her side. She has chosen faith. And this choice will change her destiny forever. The sun rises over Jericho, bathing the great city in golden light. But for Rahab, this is no ordinary morning. As she stands by her window, she watches the scarlet cord flutter in the breeze, a simple piece of fabric that now carries the weight of her destiny. Beyond the towering walls of the city, Jericho wakes to another day of tension. Soldiers march along the ramparts, scanning the horizon for signs of the enemy. Merchants set up their stalls, but their usual lively banter is subdued. The rumors are growing louder, the Israelites are coming. Rahab knows it is only a matter of time. She grips the windowsill, heart pounding. She has thrown her lot in with the people of Israel. But what if she was wrong? What if the spies do not keep their promise? What if she is discovered before they even return? She closes her eyes and exhales slowly. No turning back now. In the marketplace, the atmosphere is tense. Soldiers move with urgency, checking homes, questioning travelers, and strengthening security at the gates. The king's paranoia has deepened. He knows spies have entered the city, and he will stop at nothing to find them. Rahab weaves through the crowd, her steps careful and measured. She must not draw attention. She overhears hushed conversations. The king has doubled the guards. They say the Israelites are still on the other side of the Jordan, but their God has done impossible things before. They're coming for us. It's only a matter of time. Rahab swallows hard. Every word reinforces what she already knows: Jericho's destruction is inevitable. She hurries back to her home, carefully avoiding watchful eyes. She has a family to protect. Inside the walls of her home, Rahab gathers her family. Her parents, her siblings, their children, they all sit before her, their eyes filled with confusion and fear. She takes a deep breath and begins to speak. "I need you to listen to me," she says. "Jericho will fall." Her family shifts uncomfortably. Some scoff, others look worried. "You don't know that," her brother protests. "The walls of Jericho have stood for generations. No one has ever conquered this city." Rahab meets his gaze. "No one has ever fought against the God of Israel." Silence. "I have helped their spies escape," she confesses. "They gave me a promise, a sign. When they return, they will destroy the city, but they will spare us if we stay inside this house." Gasps of disbelief. Shock ripples through the room. Her mother clutches her arm. "Rahab, what have you done?" "I have chosen to believe," she replies firmly. "We have no hope in Jericho's walls. But there is hope in their God." She steps to the window and gestures toward the scarlet cord. "This is our salvation. When the time comes, do not leave this house. No matter what you hear, no matter what you see, stay inside." Some of them hesitate, but slowly, they begin to understand. Their lives now depend on faith. The days pass slowly. Rahab's home becomes a place of quiet anticipation. She watches the walls, the soldiers, the gates. Every moment is filled with uncertainty. At night, she lies awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if she has done the right thing. Doubt creeps in like a whisper in the dark. But when she sees the scarlet cord swaying in the wind, she reminds herself, faith is not about certainty, it is about trust. Far beyond Jericho, in the Israelite camp, the spies return to Joshua. They kneel before their leader, eyes bright with urgency. The people of Jericho are terrified, one of them reports. Their hearts have melted with fear. The city is strong, but they know they are doomed. Joshua listens intently. "There is something else," the second spy adds. "A woman named Rahab helped us. She hid us from the king's men and sent them in the wrong direction. She believes in our God." Joshua studies them. "And what did you promise her?" The spy unravels a small piece of scarlet fabric from his pouch. "She tied a cord in her window. When we take the city, everyone inside her home will be spared." Joshua nods slowly. "Then we will honor that promise." The spies exchange glances. Rahab's choice has changed everything. Back in Jericho, the wind picks up. Clouds gather in the sky. The city continues its daily routines, unaware that their time is almost up. Rahab stands by her window, staring into the distance. The Israelites are out there, waiting, preparing. The storm is coming. She tightens her grip on the scarlet cord, her heart steady now. She is ready. The city of Jericho wakes to an eerie silence. The usual clamor of the marketplace feels subdued, as if the very walls of the city can sense something is coming. Rahab stands by her window, staring into the vast horizon beyond the walls. The scarlet cord sways gently in the morning breeze. She clenches her fists, trying to steady her breathing. 4 days, she has waited. 4 days, she has listened to the whispers, the fear growing in the city. The Israelites have crossed the Jordan River. Their warriors have set up camp. The time is near. Behind her, her family huddles together in the dimly lit room. Her father sits quietly, eyes hollow with uncertainty. Her mother clutches her younger brother's hand. No one speaks, but their fear is almost tangible. Then, the sound comes. A single blast of a ram's horn. A distant tremor in the air, like the first growl of a gathering storm. Rahab's heart pounds. The Israelites are here. On the outer edges of Jericho, the Israelite army stands in perfect formation. The warriors grip their weapons, but none move forward. Joshua stands at the front, watching the city before them. At his side, priests lift the sacred Ark of the Covenant. The presence of God is with them. Then, at Joshua's command, the people move, but not to fight. Instead, they march. The Israelites begin their silent procession around Jericho's walls. No battle cries, no shouts of war, only the sound of thousands of feet moving in unison and the haunting blast of the shofar horn echoing through the valley. Inside Jericho, the people watch from the walls, confusion mingled with fear. The soldiers grip their spears tightly. This is their strategy, one of them mutters. They march like fools. But Rahab watches with different eyes. She has heard the stories. This is no ordinary army. This is the army of the living God. For 6 days, the same strange ritual continues. Each morning, the Israelite army encircles the city once. The shofar sounds. The walls remain unshaken. Then they leave, disappearing back to their camp. The people of Jericho grow restless. Soldiers mock. Where is their great power now? They sneer. But Rahab is not deceived. She watches. She waits. She grips the scarlet cord, whispering silent prayers to the God she does not yet know but has chosen to trust. On the 7th day, something changes. The Israelites do not leave after one lap. They march again. And again. 7 times. By the 7th lap, the air feels electric. The tension is unbearable. The soldiers on the walls grip their weapons, their knuckles white. And then, silence. Not a single footstep. Not a single sound. The entire Israelite army stands still. For a moment, all of Jericho holds its breath. Then, a mighty roar shatters the heavens. Shout! For the Lord has given you the city. The sound is deafening. Thousands of voices rise at once in a victorious cry. The shofars blast. And then a rumble beneath their feet. The walls of Jericho tremble. Dust explodes into the air. Cracks race up the massive stone barriers. The ground shakes violently. Before the people can react, the mighty walls of Jericho begin to crumble. Stone by stone, they collapse, crashing into the earth with a force that sends tremors through the city. Screams erupt. People run in every direction. The unbreakable fortress reduced to rubble. Inside her home, Rahab gasps as the ground quakes beneath her. She clutches the scarlet cord. Dust fills the air. The cries of Jericho's people echo in the streets. But her house still stands. The only structure left untouched within the falling city. The sign of the scarlet cord, honored. As the dust settles, the Israelite army surges forward, taking the city as God commanded. Fires rage. Chaos unfolds. But among the destruction, a group of men move with precision. The spies. Rahab watches as familiar figures navigate through the rubble. Their eyes scan the wreckage, searching. Then, their gaze locks onto the scarlet cord. Without hesitation, they push forward. Rahab rushes to the door as they enter. Relief floods her. "You kept your word," she breathes. The lead spy nods. "You kept your faith." With urgency, they lead her family through the crumbling city. The smoke, the screams, the destruction, none of it touches them. For they are marked. Marked for salvation. And as Rahab steps through the ruins of her old life, she knows her story is far from over. Outside the city, Rahab and her family stand among the Israelite camp. The battle is over. Jericho has fallen. She turns, looking back one last time. The place she called home is no more. But as she looks ahead, something stirs within her. Hope. For the first time, she is no longer Rahab of Jericho. She is Rahab, the woman God saved. She grips the scarlet cord one last time, then lets it fall to the earth. A symbol of a past redeemed. A future unknown. But she is ready. The air is thick with the scent of dust and fire. Rahab stands at the edge of Jericho's ruins, her family huddled close behind her. The mighty city, the fortress that once seemed invincible, lies in heaps of shattered stone. The echoes of destruction still linger in the distance, but Rahab does not look back. Instead, her eyes focus ahead. Before her stretches the Israelite camp, a vast assembly of tents and banners fluttering in the breeze. The people of Israel, God's people, move about with order and purpose. Warriors clean their weapons, priests tend to the sacred Ark of the Covenant, families gather in prayer. Rahab takes a deep breath. She is no longer a woman of Jericho. She is stepping into an unknown future, into the midst of a people she does not yet understand, serving a God she is just beginning to know. As Rahab and her family are led into the Israelite camp, whispers ripple through the crowds. Who are they? Canaanites. Why are they here? Weren't they supposed to be destroyed with Jericho? Eyes filled with suspicion follow Rahab's every move. Some mothers pull their children closer, and warriors grip their swords instinctively. Rahab keeps her head high, though inside, she feels the weight of their stares. She is an outsider, a foreigner. Even though she was saved, she is not yet accepted. The spies lead her to Joshua's tent. The great leader stands before them, his face stern but not unkind. The spies recount the story, how Rahab hid them, how she declared her faith in the God of Israel, how she tied the scarlet cord as a sign of salvation. Joshua listens carefully, his gaze steady. Then, after a long pause, he nods. "You will not dwell among us just yet," he says. "For now, you and your family will stay outside the camp." Rahab lowers her gaze, but she does not argue. She knows this is more than just a new place, it is a test. Days pass, then weeks. Rahab and her family live on the outskirts of the camp, close enough to witness Israel's daily life but distant enough to remain separate. Rahab watches everything. She watches as the Israelites gather in reverence before the Ark of the Covenant, their faces alight with faith. She listens as the priests recite the laws of their God, words unlike anything she has ever heard. She sees how they treat one another, not with the cruelty of Jericho, but with kindness and justice. She longs to understand. One evening, as the sun dips below the horizon, Rahab approaches an elderly Israelite woman tending to a fire. She hesitates before speaking. "Teach me," she says softly. "Teach me your ways. Teach me about your God." The woman studies her for a moment, then nods. She gestures for Rahab to sit. That night, Rahab hears, for the first time, the full story of the God of Israel, the God who spoke to Abraham, who led his people out of Egypt, who parted the Red Sea, who provided manna in the wilderness. The more she listens, the more her heart stirs. This God is not like the gods of Jericho. This God is real. This God sees her. Word spreads through the camp. Rahab, the woman from Jericho, seeks to follow the God of Israel. Some remain skeptical, but others are intrigued. She is no longer just the woman who was spared, she is a seeker of truth. One day, Joshua calls for her. She stands before him once more, her heart steady. "You have chosen to dwell among us," Joshua says. "And you have chosen to follow our God." Rahab nods. "Then you will no longer remain outside the camp. You will be counted among the people of Israel." Relief floods through her. The barriers are breaking. She is no longer Rahab the foreigner. She is Rahab, the redeemed. As Rahab settles into her new life, she meets a man named Salmon. He is a leader among the people, a man of noble character. Unlike others, he does not look at her with suspicion. Instead, he sees something different: strength, faith, courage. Rahab, too, sees something in him: kindness, wisdom, honor. Over time, their paths intertwine. Their story is just beginning. Rahab stands on a hill overlooking the Israelite camp, the past behind her, the future stretching ahead. She once lived in a city destined for destruction, but now, she is part of a people chosen by God. She once feared for her life, but now, she is walking in faith. She once tied a scarlet cord in her window as a sign of salvation. Now, she carries that same redemption in her heart. She does not know that one day, her name will be remembered for generations. That she will become the great-great-grandmother of King David. That through her, the lineage of Jesus Christ will be born. All she knows is that she was once lost, and now, she is found. And that is enough. The sun rises over the Israelite camp, casting golden light over the tents and the people moving through their morning routines. Women draw water from wells, children play in the dust, and priests prepare the day's offerings. Rahab steps out of her tent, breathing in the crisp morning air. She no longer stands outside the camp as an outsider. She now belongs to the people of God. Her life in Jericho feels like a distant memory. No longer defined by her past, she has taken on a new identity: Rahab, a follower of Yahweh. Despite being welcomed into Israel, Rahab knows she must prove herself. She wakes before dawn to work alongside the Israelite women, drawing water, preparing meals, and learning their customs. She listens to the stories of Moses and the law of the Lord, eager to understand the God she now serves. And over time, the whispers fade. The women who once avoided her now call her by name. The men who once eyed her with suspicion now see her as a woman of honor. Rahab has not only found a home, she has found a purpose. Among the men of Israel, one watches Rahab closely, not with judgment, but with admiration. Salmon, a leader among the people, has seen her transformation. He has seen her courage, her faith, and her willingness to change. Unlike the others, he does not see her as Rahab the harlot. He sees the woman God has redeemed. Their conversations begin with small exchanges, greetings at the well, shared moments of laughter among the community. But as time passes, something deeper grows between them. One evening, as the stars scatter across the sky, Salmon approaches Rahab as she sits outside her tent. "You once risked your life because you believed in our God," he says. "I have seen that faith grow in you. You are not just a woman who was saved, you are a woman chosen by God." Rahab looks up, her heart swelling. She never expected love. She never thought a man of Israel would choose her. But Salmon does. And one day, he takes her hand in marriage. Time passes, and Rahab's life continues to flourish among God's people. She and Salmon build a home together, a place of peace and faith. And soon, their joy is multiplied, a child is born to them. A son. They name him Boaz. Rahab holds her newborn close, tears brimming in her eyes. From a woman once doomed to destruction, she has become a mother in Israel. She does not yet know that Boaz will grow to be a man of great faith and kindness, a redeemer who will one day marry Ruth, a woman who, like his mother, will come from a foreign land to find refuge under the wings of God. But in this moment, as she cradles her child, she knows only this: God has given her a new beginning. The years pass, and Rahab's name becomes one of honor among the people. She is no longer known as Rahab the harlot. She is Rahab, the woman who feared the Lord. Rahab, the wife of Salmon. Rahab, the mother of Boaz. But her legacy does not end there. Generations later, from the line of Boaz, a great king will rise: David, the shepherd boy who will slay giants and lead Israel to glory. And even further in time, from the very lineage of Rahab, the Messiah will come. Jesus Christ, the Savior of the world. From a Canaanite woman once lost in sin, to a mother in the lineage of the Son of God. The scarlet cord she once tied in her window was more than a sign of salvation, it was a thread woven into the greatest story of redemption the world would ever know. Rahab stands at the edge of a hill, overlooking the land of Israel, the land she now calls home. She remembers the walls of Jericho, the fear in her heart, the moment she chose faith over fear. She smiles. The God of Israel is a God of second chances. A God who redeems the broken. A God who calls the unlikely and gives them a new name. And because of that, her story is not one of shame. Her story is one of redemption. Rahab's story reminds us that faith is not about where we come from, but about who we choose to trust. God's grace is greater than our past, and His plans are bigger than our failures. Through Rahab, we see that no one is too far from redemption. And through her legacy, we see the power of God's plan to use even the most unexpected people for His glory. A simple red cord, a sign of salvation. A reminder that faith is a choice. A shadow of a greater redemption to come. Her journey is complete, but her story still speaks today. Rahab's life teaches us that faith begins with a choice. When faced with fear, she chose to believe in the power of God, even though she was a foreigner, even though she had never seen Him work with her own eyes. Faith is not about seeing, it is about trusting. Sometimes, we must step forward before we know how the story will unfold. Faith means stepping out, even when everything around us tells us to fear. God honors those who put their trust in Him, no matter their past. In the eyes of the world, Rahab was the least likely person to be saved, a woman from a city doomed for destruction, a woman with a past. But God is not limited by human labels. He looks at the heart. His mercy reaches beyond borders, beyond backgrounds, beyond brokenness. No one is too far for God to save. His love reaches beyond sin, shame, and mistakes. If Rahab, a Canaanite harlot, could be redeemed, then so can anyone who turns to God. Rahab was not just saved, she was transformed. She became part of the people she once feared. She became a mother in the lineage of Jesus Christ. God does not just redeem us, He restores us. He gives us new names, new legacies, and new futures. When God saves us, He does not leave us where we were, He brings us into a new family, a new life. Your past does not define you, God does. The scarlet cord was a sign of salvation for Rahab and her family. It was a symbol of faith and redemption. But it was also a picture of something greater to come. Centuries later, another scarlet sign would bring salvation not just for one family, but for all who believe. Just as Rahab was saved by the scarlet cord, we are saved by the blood of Christ. Faith in God's redemption marks us for salvation, just as the scarlet cord marked Rahab's home. Her story is over, but the message remains. Rahab made a choice. She chose faith. She chose redemption. She chose a new life. What will you choose? The story of Rahab is a story of faith, redemption, and God's boundless mercy. It is a reminder that no one is beyond God's reach. No one is too broken to be restored. And no one who chooses Him will ever be cast aside.